Phil Collins has always lived between noise and silence. The crash of toms, the echo of reverb, the measured calm of a man who built rhythm into memory. He is one of the few drummers who made percussion feel like storytelling, the pulse of In the Air Tonight, the discipline of Genesis, the heartbeat of an entire era.
I'd never seen you before, and I mean, this isn't just blowing, you know, this is, seriously, you know, no one does what you do.
But beneath that calm, Collins had opinions, sharp, unfiltered, and quietly ruthless. He did not tolerate drummers who faked feel, who mistook volume for passion or speed for soul. In his world, time was sacred, and those who disrespected it earned his quiet disdain. He never named names often, but when he did, it was not gossip. It was philosophy, his measure of what kept rhythm human. Here are the 6 drummers Phil Collins could never stand, the ones who broke his silent code of time, taste, and truth. Number 6. Lars Ulrich. Phil Collins respected power, but not chaos. To him, Lars Ulrich of Metallica embodied everything wrong with bombast over balance. Collins admired precision, groove, and feel. Ulrich, he thought, hid behind volume. Where Collins built tension through silence, Ulrich filled every gap with noise, proof that discipline matters more than decibels. Collins understood force. Genesis could thunder when it wanted to, but he believed dynamics made the difference between art and assault. To him, Ulrich's drumming felt like a constant argument with itself, always loud, rarely listening. Metallica's aggression thrilled arenas, but Collins heard something missing: the breath between the beats, the empathy that separates rhythm from racket. Anyone can hit hard, Collins once said in an interview, but not everyone knows when not to. That was Collins's golden rule. Space is rhythm too. He thought great drummers could make a song move with a whisper, not just a crash. When he watched Ulrich turn every fill into a declaration of war, Collins saw more posture than pulse. It was not personal. Collins respected Metallica's drive, but he distrusted the cult of constant volume, that need to prove power through exhaustion. He called it the death of dynamics, the moment when drummers forgot that restraint creates release. Groove is about conversation, he told a BBC interviewer, not domination. To Collins, Ulrich's drumming symbolized a generation of players who confused intensity with emotion. The louder they got, the less they felt. Collins, who built entire arenas on suspense and patience, saw that as tragedy, rhythm without soul. So Ulrich earns his place not as a villain, but as a warning. Power means nothing without pulse. And for Phil Collins, that was the beat worth defending. Number 5. Nick Mason. The Pink Floyd drummer was a legend of texture, not technique, and that was exactly Collins's issue. He found Mason's drumming atmospheric but empty, a painter without pulse. To Collins, rhythm demanded purpose. Mason's restraint sometimes blurred into lethargy, turning hypnosis into drift. In Phil's eyes, that was not mystery, it was sleep. Collins respected space, but he believed space had to breathe, not yawn. Mason's approach to time was cinematic, yes, but also detached. Where Genesis aimed for tension that built and burst, Pink Floyd's pacing, to Collins, often evaporated into self-indulgence. The drums did not push, they floated. And floating, Collins said, is not the same as moving. He admired Floyd's vision, but not its inertia. For Collins, groove was not about ambience, it was about life. Every beat had to have intention, momentum, and human weight. Watching Mason play, he saw an artist painting mist, beautiful at a glance, but gone before you can touch it. To Collins, a drummer was the bridge between the band's soul and its heartbeat. Mason, he felt, stood beside it rather than inside it, a master of texture, but not of tension. Collins's sense of rhythm was emotional architecture, precise yet alive, grounded yet expressive. Pink Floyd's drumming, though hypnotic, often drifted too far from earth. The trick, he once said, is to make every bar feel like it means something, and that is what separated them. Mason sought to disappear within atmosphere. Collins sought to command it. He wanted to make people move, not meditate. The difference, he believed, was intention. One played to be heard, the other to be felt. So while the world floated in Floyd's cosmic fog, Collins stayed rooted in gravity. For him, rhythm was not about clouds, it was about connection, the invisible tether that kept songs human. Number 4. Meg White. Collins never hid his irritation with drummers who wore simplicity like rebellion. He thought Meg White's minimalist approach with the white stripes confused lack of skill for style. To him, rhythm was primal and precise. Her looseness, her lagging time, it felt wrong. If you can't drive the band, he'd say, you're stalling it. Phil Collins did not hate simplicity. He built careers on it. What he hated was carelessness disguised as character. To him, Meg White's playing stripped drumming of its heartbeat. Every song teetered on the edge of collapse, not by design, but by deficiency. She makes the snare sound like a metronome with a limp, Collins once joked to a producer. That was not cruelty, it was disappointment. He believed the drummer's first duty was time, not image. When the white stripes turned rhythmic imperfection into aesthetic identity, Collins saw it as a betrayal of the craft. Minimalism, he argued, should still groove. It should still feel inevitable, not accidental. In interviews, Collins often said that great drumming is invisible. You feel it before you notice it. Meg's style, by contrast, demanded to be noticed for the wrong reasons. It was all texture, no tension, and that imbalance gnawed at him. Playing simple, he said, isn't about doing less. It's about meaning more. He never denied her influence. The white stripes made minimalism fashionable again, proving that rawness could sell out arenas. But for Collins, raw did not mean reckless. He thought drumming, even stripped to its bones, should breathe with grace, not stumble with charm. Meg White symbolized a generation that mistook vibe for virtuosity, and Collins could not forgive that erosion of craft. For him, rhythm was sacred speech, and when language becomes noise, meaning disappears. Simplicity, he believed, was not rebellion, it was discipline, and that was what she lacked. Number 3. Don Henley. They shared a paradox, singers behind the kit, torn between melody and rhythm. But Collins thought Henley's timing grew stiff once fame arrived. The groove that carried Hotel California had calcified under perfectionism. For Collins, the drummer's job was pulse, not posture. He saw Henley's polish as the slow death of spontaneity. To Collins, drumming was not about being perfect, it was about being present. He admired Henley's songwriting, his sense of atmosphere, his voice, but he thought the drumming became a casualty of control. You can feel when a drummer starts worrying more about the mix than the moment, he once said. In the Eagles' studio precision, Collins heard something slowly fade: risk. The kind of risk that made early rock unpredictable and alive. Henley's beats, flawless as they were, began to feel embalmed. Rhythm as choreography, not conversation. Collins believed groove had to breathe, to swing, even when it was slow. He respected Henley's discipline, but felt it boxed him in. Fame, he thought, demands tightness, art demands looseness. The grid kills the groove, he warned in one interview. For Collins, drums were not about decoration. They were about direction, a current that pulls every musician forward. Henley, he believed, began to resist that flow, chasing flawlessness at the expense of feel. It was not malice, only disappointment. He saw a great drummer turn into an executive of rhythm, managing beats instead of living them. To Collins, that was the saddest transformation of all, when control smothers character. Because drumming, at its best, is not about accuracy, it is about belief. And Collins believed Henley had forgotten that groove is not meant to be perfect, it is meant to be alive. Number 2. Neil Peart. The Rush virtuoso inspired millions, but Collins bristled at the worship. To him, Peart's drumming was intellect without instinct, more architecture than emotion. Every fill immaculate, every beat rehearsed to sterility. Collins valued feel over formula, groove over geometry. He respected Peart's mastery, but not the machinery it became. The metronome, he said, does not breathe. To Collins, Peart represented the evolution, and the curse, of technical perfection. You can't program humanity, he once said, and sometimes that's what technique becomes. He was not denying Peart's brilliance, he just did not trust it. Collins believed rhythm should speak, not calculate. Peart, in his eyes, built cathedrals of sound so vast that the listener forgot the beating heart beneath. Precision became a prison, one he built brick by brick. Collins was a trained drummer too, But he believed in imperfection as character, a slightly late snare, a ghost note slipping between breaths. Those, to him, were the fingerprints of life. Pert's mechanical consistency made him legendary, but it also made him distant. Emotion isn't supposed to be flawless, Collins told Modern Drummer magazine. It's supposed to move you. He thought Pert's followers mistook complexity for depth. They memorized solos, but missed the silence between notes, the space where music becomes human. Collins saw himself as a storyteller behind the kit. Pert, to him, was an engineer. Their difference was not rivalry, but philosophy. One played to impress, the other to express. And Collins believed that was the invisible line dividing great drummers from great musicians. So while the world bowed to Pert's precision, Collins bowed to feel. Because machines can play rhythm, but only people can play time. Number 1. Ginger Baker. Collins grew up idolizing Cream, but Ginger Baker's arrogance left a bitter taste. Both were rhythm purists, but Baker turned purity into poison. His jazz roots gave him brilliance. His ego made him unbearable. Collins once called him a genius who forgot music was meant to connect. To him, Baker was the ghost of greatness, lost to his own fury. Collins's disappointment was not born from jealousy, it was grief. Baker embodied the extreme of what happens when talent devours empathy. He was spectacular, Collins admitted once, but he wanted to win the song, not play it. That, to Collins, was the tragedy. Drumming is not combat, it is communion. Where Collins treated rhythm as language, Baker wielded it like a weapon. Every bar was dominance, not dialogue. It made him mesmerizing and maddening all at once. Baker's reputation offstage only deepened Collins's unease. The interviews, the temper, the endless feuds, all signs, he thought, of a man unable to share rhythm with anyone else. Collins, ever the collaborator, saw that as the final betrayal, a drummer who refused to listen. He had the hands of a god, Collins told a journalist, but the heart of a boxer. In private, Collins still credited Baker for showing him that drumming could lead a band, but he believed Baker never learned that leading is not ruling. Rhythm, he said, should unite, not conquer. So when Collins named Baker among the drummers he could never stand, it was not hatred. It was heartbreak. He saw in him a reflection of what greatness becomes when ego outpaces grace. Because in the end, even brilliance can lose the beat, and Baker, to Phil Collins, was living proof. What followed was not bitterness, but revelation. Collins's judgments were never about rivalry or ego. They were reminders of what happens when rhythm loses its soul. For him, drumming was never just sound, it was a truth you had to live by. He measured musicians not by precision, but by presence, their ability to make silence speak. Every name he criticized, every beat he defended, revealed a philosophy. That feel matters more than fame, that restraint outlasts noise. To Collins, rhythm was not perfection. It was pulse, fragile, human, and full of heart. And when that pulse fades, the song ends, no matter how loud the applause. His lessons were never cruel, they were calls to remember the heartbeat beneath every hit. If you felt that beat, subscribe, share your thoughts below, and keep the pulse alive. The rhythm never dies, it just changes hands.